It's also going to affect, right, like what can we get done on the work plan? And that happens, right? Sometimes things get delayed through no fault of our own, but that also has a huge effect on our budget. And I think that's really important for us to understand that as we look
together and get started. Okay, there we go. I guess I do roll call. Yeah. Okay, we will do roll call. If you guys just want to go around real quick and say that you're here.
Ann Hume's here. Jen Shetterly's here.
Greg Jenkins here.
And Ashley's here. Are you able to hear us, Ashley?
Yeah, I can hear you. I didn't know if you wanted me to say here or not, since you can hear me.
Okay, feel free to jump in whenever. Next on the agenda is we will do approval of minutes for September. Everyone should have a copy of the minutes in front of them. Hopefully you've reviewed them before now. And then someone, if one of the commissioners could make a motion to approve that, that would be great.
I make a motion to approve the September 2023 minutes as they stand.
I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Ashley? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. I would like to propose jumping ahead here a little bit. We do have a public comment here in person that would like to speak before we dive into the budget and further into the agenda. I'd like to welcome up our public comment. Pull up our PowerPoint.
Hello, I'm Pranavi Rohit, a student at Eastlake High School. I'm representative on behalf of the arts nonprofit organization Expressions Art, and I was the organizer for an exhibition that happened at the Sammamish Library this Saturday. So it featured more than 110 pieces of art from members of the community, from elementary students to adult, and it was framed around where science, art, and their stories intersected. It also included paintings inspired by interviews with scientists, so Casey Middleton, Fatima Hassan, Dr. John Medina, and Dr. Beth Phillips. So I brought the paintings over there. They're a bit difficult to see, but like an example of some of the work that was displayed. And to explore the diversity of interests and paths within science, while making science more accessible through art. So entry to the event was free and had more than 250 attendees, including City Council members Ms. Rosine O'Farrell, Ms. Karen Howe, and Ms. Rituja Indrapur. Ms. O'Farrell was actually the one who suggested that I come here today and share more about the event and Expressions Arts. So this project was actually made possible through a microgrant funded by the Expressions Arts nonprofit that I actually applied for. So my mentor was Sweetie Sarada. She's the founder and board chair of Expressions Art. And it was the inaugural year for the program where they provided close to $4,000 in funding for 11 projects led by teens like me in the area, including the Science and Art exhibition, which was my idea. So the organization has more than 400 volunteers, many of which are teens, and close to 90 of which have been awarded Presidential Service Awards. Their projects have included donating over 8,000 pieces of art to women and children who have suffered physical abuse, veterans and their families, and kids with special needs during the holiday season. In the summer, they also hold Ignite Expo, which showcases 3,000 pieces of artwork from community members, both students and adults. So Expressions Art also organizes part of the Children's Business Fair, which gives a platform for more than 200 students in the greater Seattle area to sell their artwork and gain visibility as young artists. So I'm here today because Expressions Arts would love to collaborate with the Sammamish Arts Commission to host a community art project for Sammamish, such as a community mural or art walk, and we wanted to learn more about the process to start, such as who to contact and any proposal documents. So thank you so much. I guess then I should probably ask, is there any information around that for how we should go about this in the future? Okay. Thank you.
I wish I had known about it sooner.
No worries.
So next time something like this comes up, feel free to come to us before the event. So we can help you plan it, we can help publicize it, we can help you get in touch with other people that might be,
That's good.
to make it more successful. So that's one thing. And the second thing is we have grants that we give out once a year. So I'm talk to Emily about the next grant cycle, and how you should apply to that. And I would just encourage you to just reach out to, I guess, just the team as a whole, and I guess one of us would definitely be interested in working with you and figuring out what else we can do.
Sounds good. I will let Sarada know as well. So I think we definitely still have to flesh out an idea for the project itself, but definitely once we have more information, it's awesome that we can reach out and let you know. Okay. Oh, yes. Actually, my best friend is on the board, so I'll talk to her about this as well. So sounds good. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, next on the agenda, we are just reviewing the budget. Let me do this so Ashley can see online here. Oh, no. Oh, how do I do this? Should not let me drive. Okay. Okay, now Ashley should be able to see that. Okay, so here is the current budget as it stands. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I make a motion to, oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I make a motion to approve the agenda as it is tonight.
I second. All in favor?
Who's leading it? I don't understand.
There you go.
Aye.
Perfect. Okay. Okay, thank you. Agenda approved. On to our budget. So Ashley should be able to see this from home. This is the budget as it currently stands. We did have a few expenses come through since our last meeting, and that can be shown here. Actually, just that one art handling for the last art exhibit was added. Can make it bigger. Any questions before we move on? Okay, fantastic. So next on the agenda, we have Janie here to give a update on the arts strategic plan.
Thanks. We're just gonna swap out the sharing. On the left, all the way on the left on the top.
While you're working on that, I do have a question about the budget. I saw that there was like 2,500 for the PTSA. Has that been spent?
Oh, yeah. So the 2,500 that came out in March, that was from a grant from the 2022 grant cycle. Remember that?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if that was the new one. I was like, oh my gosh. Okay.
No, that was
Thank you.
back in March. Yep, no problem.
Okay.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Janie Walzer. I'm the management analyst for Parks, Recreation, Facilities. I know you know me, but just for the record. So this is a project that's been highly anticipated. It's been in the works for a few years, but there's been staff turnover, there's been commissioner turnover. So I'm just going to start with what is an RFP, or request for proposals, just so we're all on the same page moving forward. So the purpose of a strategic plan is to create a document that will give the Arts Commission and the city a set of overarching goals and then a plan or pathway to achieving them. It's going to be a broad document that they will be able to use for many years to come. We don't want it to be ultra specific because then it won't be as useful in a year or two, maybe when commissioner projects change, goals of the city change. So the plan will give us recommendations for a work plan structure or a budget structure, but it's not going to lock us into future decisions. It's not going to say, hey, the plan says this, so you can't do X, Y, or Z in the future. The commission is still going to be involved in every future decision after this document's made. It's going to give us a set of operating procedures for reoccurring common activities. So for example, it'll be a step-by-step for how we release a call for artists, select pieces, and how we show them in City Hall or any art showcases that come up in the future. But it's not going to suggest specific project ideas, maybe such as a sculpture, concept, and location. It can, however, give us those procedures for developing an idea for sculptures or projects in the future. And then lastly, we want this to be an evergreen document that grows and changes with the commission, that's useful years to come. We don't want it to be time bound, so we don't want to say this is going to be a 5-year document every 5 years. We have to update it every 5 years. It's no longer useful to us. It's going to be a tool that you guys can use year after year to run your programs. So an RFP, a request for proposal, I like to think of it as a job description. And we are asking people to submit their resumes or qualifications for this job that we have. We have tasks that are fairly general in our RFP that we'll go over in a minute. And we want the applicant to be able to really flesh out their ideas, right? So we don't want to give them the answer for them. We want to see their creativity, their experience, maybe in past projects they've done for other jurisdictions. So we can really pick the best firm for us. So the process for starting a strategic plan looks like this. Step 1 is to create that RFP, request for proposal. And we're going to release that, hopefully get many submissions to choose from that the commission will review and have short list of firms that maybe we interview. Maybe it's clear from the onset, just like, wow, this is a shining winner. So then we develop a scope of work with that winner. The subcommittee has already developed a great one that we have ideas for. So when we have the firm, it's going to be like a collaboration. This is our idea. What can you do for us? Do you have any suggestions, edits, things to make it better, etc.? That scope of work is going to go into a contract that we will enter into. And at that point, the firm can start developing the plan. So the RFP is going to have a list of requested tasks, kind of, like I said, more general, but it's not going to lock in our scope of work. So we're going to have the RFP, scope of work, line by line, comes later. Now, working backwards, since, as I said, the subcommittee did do a great job of starting that scope of work, I'll let you know how I developed the tasks that we're going to review. So this is an excerpt from the scope of work. It calls for a community survey and details how that should be accomplished. Ideas about length of time, modality of how we collect those responses, and an idea to maybe include demographics. So an idea of what questions you want to include. From that point, I summarize this bullet point here that the subcommittee is looking for is community engagement. And there were other ideas on community engagement also from that document. And all of those together led into the element that our plan or scope of work should include a community survey, establish a level of demand amongst the community. What kind of demand do they have for public art versus what are we providing? And then also the creation of goals and objectives based on that community feedback. So this phrasing of how I've written it in the RFP that we're going to go over gives the firms an idea of what we're looking at, and at the same time giving them the flexibility for them to explain to us how they are interpreting what we want to accomplish. So, drum roll please. Now we are going to look at the tasks, and I've broken it down into 3 main buckets, kind of like a past, present, and future. Where are we now? You know, artscape of the city today. What do we need? And that's going to come from that community engagement element, service gap analysis. And then how do we get there? So that's going to be the bulk of the plan, those processes that I've discussed. If you don't mind passing this out. So Annalise is going to pass this out, so it'll be closer to you, but we'll go over them. So for task 1, where we are now, we would like an inventory of our existing public art and art programming. So what services do you guys usually do annually, year to year? An external stakeholder analysis to evaluate the presence of local culture and arts organizations. So beyond you guys, the Arts Commission, what's out there? Review the existing structure of the Arts Commission, staff support level, you know, how art gets done in Spanish. And then also review existing city plans to coordinate values. So that's making sure that this plan talks to other plans, like our Parks, Recreation, Open Space Plan, our comprehensive plan. So it's not in a silo, but it is knowing what's going on in the city. So that'll set our baseline. And then what do we need? So a community survey, asking the community what they'd like to see, the service gap analysis that I spoke about, and the goals and objectives rooted in community feedback. Additionally, the creation of a framework of procedures for those art installations, so step-by-step, plug-and-play document, and also creation of signage guidelines and methods to increase community awareness about what the Arts Commission is doing, installations, projects. Third, how we get there. Clear operating procedures for art installation, art programming. Recommendations for art events and programming. Now, this is not going to be specific. Like, you should have a sculpture for dogs, right? It'll be the city, based on community feedback, would like to see more sculptures in parks. And then later on, you guys will say, hey, our community says we want more sculptures in parks. So let's use our set operating procedures about how we develop call for artists, proposals, things like that moving forward. So then identify and evaluate potential permanent and temporary art locations. Grant and funding strategy, budget recommendation for the city to consider ongoing development of arts and culture, and then a recommendation for staffing level to adequately support the Arts Commission. So that's our 1, 2, 3 high level, how we get it done. And then just anticipated timeline to project start. So this is just the timeline of the RFP. And it moves fast and assumes no missed meetings, no missed anything. But we are operating over the holiday season, so some things are extended. RFP release November 29th. So we're going to have you guys look at it, give your edits. At your November meeting, you can adopt it. We take it to council and ask them, hey, is this good? We're going to release it. And then we release it end of November. We give RFP questions due. That gives firms time to submit questions to us, clarifying what we're looking for. We respond to them by December 22nd. And then proposal packages due January 12th. So normally it would be open for about a month, but that would have things closing over Christmas. So we just extended it out. And then notify shortlisted firms. So that gives the commission time, the subcommittee to review them, bring their recommendation to the commission. Notify shortlisted firms. This is after your January meeting. So you guys all talk together and have a consensus about your shortlist. If you guys need to interview shortlist, say there's a top 3, we need to interview them, we'll do that. There's an asterisk because if you choose not to interview, you don't have to. If there's a 1 winner, then we can hit the ground running. Contract awarded by City Council. So February 6th is the council date that we will shoot for. Once they approve it, we enter a contract. We're ready to go. All right. That is my spiel. I am happy to go back and answer questions.
So do you have the document, the RFP created now that we can review, or is that still being completed?
We do. It's in draft form. Other than what I handed you and what this is really the bulk of it. The rest of it is a paragraph on background of Sammamish that we always include, background about the Arts Commission. So it's like 2 more sentences, and then a lot of legal jargon that we always include. And so this is really the meat of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there were quite a few suggestions that came up in the strategic subcommittee. How does that get incorporated into that? Is that after we hire somebody and then we say that these are the things that we're looking for? Is that the place where that would be appropriate?
Yeah. So this is high level concepts, and then once we pick our firm, we're going to give them what you guys created. Say this is our detailed scope of work. So nothing you did was wasted effort. I didn't choose. I took your high level ideas, and then we're going to use that scope of work in the future.
But that we would already have a contract. So is it going to be hard to know what these firms are going to be focused on just based on their response to the RFP? No, these firms know what, hopefully we'll have firms that have done similar planning for other jurisdictions. So they know what in our strategic plan, what we're looking for, the structure. And then this gives them an idea of specifically, we want a community survey, we want goals and objectives, we want procedures, and we want them to look at our budget and our staffing levels, right? We're not going to enter a contract until we have that scope of work nailed down. So we're going to choose our firm, make our scope of work, happy with it, like number of meetings, exact tasks that they're going to do, and then we sign a contract. Okay. I was unclear on whether or not where the scope of work came in. Was it
Sure.
before the contract or after? Got it. Thank you.
Could I ask questions about the this? For the what we need section, for 2C, it says that goals and objectives are based on community feedback. I don't want to read too much into it, but it implies that it's solely on community feedback. And so I wanted to clarify that. Versus it's also taking input from, city council or commissioners, et cetera.
Yeah, that's a great point. So we can change that to creation of goals and objectives that take into consideration community feedback.
Sure.
Built on data collection from their needs analysis, look into how we do art now. I did say based on community feedback and service gap. So the service gap was like their analysis. So it's like community feedback, the analysis of what they've done, how they've reviewed the artscape. So in task 1, review existing plans, review existing SAC structure.
Or for example, on the where we are now, if they reviewed it just based on where we are now, it's going to be a huge gap, but there's not really, it would be interesting, and I think it was in some of our notes about doing a study or comparison to other jurisdictions, and just of a comparison of comparable towns.
Yeah, so external stakeholder analysis in 1B, and when we make our scope of work, we can clarify with them.
Okay, it just
what that
wasn't.
means.
I think it's the nuance of
Sure.
and the brevity is. It's hard to necessarily know exactly what you mean versus what it is going to be.
Sure.
So I know that's a challenge in doing bulleted lists.
We could add, because I did not make the connection that service gap was kind of relating back to the first list. So, maybe we could say based on community feedback and service gaps identified, above or something, just to make that connection, because it didn't jump off to me, but maybe these folks know what they're looking at here. Not sure.
in 2D, it talks about a framework and procedures for art installations and art programming. I hesitate to focus so much on installations. I think it's a broad set of, like, how should we organize the commission? What are their roles? How do we decide on the type of art that we focus on? Is it, permanent sculptures? Is it dance? Is it music? How do we do all these things? How do we agree on or vote for art, a project and get it approved? I wasn't sure if that's encompassing that 2D.
Yeah, so I hear what you're saying. So 2D is, so we're ignoring what it says here.
Okay.
What we want is what you're saying, two separate things. One, how do we, as a commission, how do you as a commission come up with ideas for art projects and programming? And then two is like, within those broad buckets, we want to put on this art program, maybe like a farmer's market event. We can have broad procedures for doing that. One, write a budget. Two, write a purpose. So down in 3, C, identify eventual potential locations. That could be part of it. Budget recommendations for the city. That could be recommendations for staffing level, adequately support the Arts Commission. All 3 of those things can kind of go into like the structure of the Arts Commission. And then procedures for art installations and art programming is those like, how do we, once we have our project set and our work plan, how do we effectively put on those programs and installations?
Okay. Go ahead, Sudeshna.
I kind of get what you're saying, and I would also like to add qualifiers to get an arts program fulfilled. Like, what are some of the values that we're trying to build, and how does a program even get to qualify to, happen?
Yeah, what's the criteria and the rubric and the, yeah. Is it, rather than continue, will we be able to just offline provide feedback on this as well as the other doc that has some more details?
Yeah, I mean, you can provide feedback on this. The rest of the RFP is like what the city uses as a template, so we can't really change that. We can change this because this is the content that you can provide your feedback to me and Emily. We can fix it, and then at your next meeting in November, finalize it.
Yeah,
So
I can send this PowerPoint out to everybody.
Okay.
And my last comment is on the schedule. I really appreciate how aggressive it is, but it is aggressive, especially around the holidays. And I'm curious whether you guys feel that way.
I mean, I agree. It's assuming all things go to plan, but if you have what you want and to okay and release at your next meeting in November, we can, the rest of the timeline is achievable. It's kind of, RFPs go fast.
I think to do that, I think everyone would have to be on the same page too on how do you review the proposals from the firms and agree, and who makes those decisions.
Right. So the subcommittee will review all of them, have their recommendation. All of the submissions will be given to everybody. And then at your January meeting, you would have that discussion. For Anjali.
Yeah. Good evening, Arts Commission. I'm Anjali Maya. I'm the Director of Parks, Recreation and Facilities. And just wanted to be here today and let you know that I will also be supporting the Arts Strategic Plan and the team working on it. We are currently working on the Parks, Recreation and Open Space Plan that we are required to update every 6 years. And so the team had to get to a steady state with that, and now they've worked on this request for proposals. All good comments this evening, and We definitely want your feedback, and I do agree it is an aggressive schedule. In fact, I'm hoping we can keep to this schedule, but I noticed that at the end we may need a little more time negotiating the scope of work, because I think that's where you'll want to make sure that some of the, and my bad, the team did share this with me, and I should have caught that, but if you are interviewing shortlisted firms on January 30th, then you need a little time to go back and forth with the scope of work with the selected firm, and then we need our packets weeks ahead for council's review. So it is going to be March. I have heard from a few members of the commission that everyone is really keen to get this plan adopted. And we don't want to go too far. Like, the goal was to get this done in by the end of next year. And I think it could take like 6 to 9 months to get the work done. So hoping we will still be able to release it in time, get questions answered, and get to a stage where we've shortlisted as soon as possible. After that, we will take the time it needs till everyone is comfortable with the scope of work before we actually get a contract put together and take it to council. Does that help?
I think so. I think we definitely need some more time for scope of work. And I do agree it's a little bit aggressive considering the holidays and everything. So what happens if we don't get enough proposals back, or they're not good enough? Do we do another round?
Yes, that's typical. So if we look at everything we got and we're not happy with it, we have the right to reject all proposals and start over. I would encourage you, although, if you know of firms out there that do this, then the minute we are advertising it, and just let folks know, or even we let other folks, if we, know of firms, just to spread the interest, spread the word, and get folks to apply.
So if I'm reading this correctly, the strategic plan subcommittee should be pretty active between January 12th and January 31st, right? Those last couple of weeks of January is when we're going to need to really be contributing. Is that accurate?
Yeah, there will be proposals come in January 12th. In my experience, you'll see like one proposal, maybe 0 proposals up until like the deadline, and then you'll get the wave of them. So, and that gives you 2 weeks until the Arts Commission full meeting in January. So that would be what I expect your busy time of reading them and having your subcommittee meetings to discuss.
Okay. Do you recommend that we have some sort of like rubric or criteria?
Yeah, so there's a rubric.
There is a rubric already?
Yeah.
Okay.
So going back to your comment about the external stakeholders, and you said the city analysis would be included in that?
Yeah, so, and this is all, we don't have to like nitpick exactly who's going to be involved, because that'll be a scope of work discussion.
Yeah.
But yeah, there'll be an internal and external evaluation. So internal, how the Arts Commission operates, how the city staff help the Arts Commission, and how we communicate with council. And then also, what do other Arts Commission and other cities do? How are they structured? How are nonprofit art programs structured?
So I would not, I'm just a little hung up on the stakeholder word, because they're not stakeholders, the cities.
Sure.
So we might need to just...
Yeah, external art.
Yeah.
Sure. We can just take out stakeholder analysis. I mean, sure. I see what you're saying. Thank you.
So another question, just so I don't end up bombarding you with this afterwards. Things like ethics or ethical conduct or DEI, would there be any consideration for that in this, or is that kind of covered at a higher level?
I would love Anjali to give her feedback, because I know the city does have a DIB initiative and staff who specifically make those policies for us.
We would kind of refer to the DEIB policy, but we could talk about it through the scope of work. We could make sure that that's, and then the arts commissioners currently have a code of ethics and a code of conduct, and then we could see how we could extend that to all the work that's done as part of the strategic plan as well.
I just think conflicts of interest can start to get a little bit unclear. It might be nice to have clarity there.
That's true. That's an excellent point. Yeah, we could do that.
One last thing, service gap. I don't know if that should be gaps and overlaps, because sometimes there's a lot of saturation of one art form, and so maybe change the language around that.
Sure. Service gap is like a jargony term for analysis. So it would take into consideration overlap too.
Can I ask a question? What is our role until this is adopted? Because a lot of what has been spelled out of what our responsibilities are right now, we're not able to fulfill because of the lack of the strategic plan. So what are our responsibilities right now until this plan happens? Because a lot of the things that have been spelled out of what our responsibilities are, we can't do those things right now, like permanent art. And a lot of what is written about our mission statement and our guiding principles are great, but I don't really see how we're able to continue with those in place if we're not able to do what we were elected to do. So can we get some clarity on what the expectations are between now and the strategic plan enactment?
I'll take a stab at it, and Emily, do you want to?
Oh, go ahead, and I'll go next.
Okay. So that is another good question, right? And there's no perfect way to do it. So obviously, and I think one of you said this, it's not just the community survey. This group will have a very important role on the strategic plan. I don't know if it will be every month, but that consultant will go off and do some work, come back and report to you. You will have a big touch point in this whole strategic plan. And, we'll have some new members. We'll have to get them up to speed. But that's going to be one work product for this commission for a bulk of 24. And then there are things that will continue, and we'll just, you'll have to keep doing the best you can, like rotating art exhibits. We have some basic standard operating procedures from previous commissioner, but we could sit down. In fact, we were talking internally that maybe we just clean up that document a bit and make it, clarify how that is to be done. So for the next few exhibits, until the art strategic plan is adopted, maybe we have some guidelines for that. And then there are projects that I am to understand that are, with the youth board's effort, your grant program, all of that, I think you'll still do. You'll still have a budget for next year, and you'll still offer those grants. And then once the strategic plan is adopted, we'll probably have a session in January of 25 when everyone is understanding, what's changed and how that might impact the work plan for 25 if we have kept to schedule and adopted it. Emily, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, that was, that covers a lot of it. So I think most of us have seen that document floating around of the work plan that Jen has so kindly helped us kind of get started. So we do have some big things. This meeting was really to talk about our art strategic plan. We still have the DEIB sculpture that is going to be installed. And then I do, before the end of the year, really want to make sure we're plugging in projects for our work plan for next year. So the grants program opens in January. It'd be lovely to get that to be a bit more robust program, so we can put some efforts towards that. We do the monthly artist spotlight. This group really does support the youth board through different collaborations for exhibits, and we have the literacy program coming up, fairy houses. Let's see. Obviously, the City Hall art exhibit. So there still is a lot of programming happening, and I think we could really hone in and perfect that for the year of 2024 while also building the art strategic plan, which will then give us framework for many years moving forward.
And Emily, I had one thing that I didn't respond to, which is permanent art. So we have a biennial budget, and right now the only budget that council has authorized is for that DEIB sculpture to be installed. And so given that the biennial budget is for 23 and 24, so there isn't a plan to fund more permanent art. And permanent art projects are a little more involved, even at a staff level. We have to assign someone, even from the planning side, to just assist with how does that sculpture attach to the ground, whether it was the sculpture at Southeast 4th Street, whether it's the fountain here. So it takes a little more. We have to kind of make sure someone in our planning team has a little capacity to support it. And of course, you need the funding.
There's been talk about rewriting the grants procedures or the grants process. Has that been worked on? Do you know who's working on that?
So at our last meeting, the grant program that this commission has always had, I'm not sure what year it started, since forever, we did vote to not have it open in October and have it open in January so that it follows the financial calendar. Mm-hmm. And as far as, I think you may be referring to the grants program in schools. Is that the one you're thinking of? Megan's project?
I think it was the public one. I might be mistaken, but I thought that a couple of people had mentioned needing to redo the grants process.
Okay, yeah. And I think the process will stay the same as far as applications, reviewing. I think we just decided to change the dates. So that application window will now be opening January 1st through March. And then we're hoping to have projects completed and all the funding reimbursed by the end of the calendar year of 2024. So that was the only changes, but it gives us the opportunity to really promote it, and hopefully we'll get a lot of applicants and some great things going on in the community outside of the commission.
Okay. So Deshna, were you going to say something? Okay, I didn't want to. I think I'll just add on to that is, I think I just have an impression that with the grants program, like it's a little bit opaque, even me sitting through my first time. And we don't have an opportunity with these types of projects, especially as maybe new commissioners, to talk as a group as to what went well and what didn't go well and how we could improve it.
Yeah.
And I feel like maybe I have the wrong impression, but I feel like there was room for improvement.
And that's great feedback, which I think the grants committee should absolutely, consider next time we do the grants, reach out to the entire commission and see what's worked and what's not worked. The way it used to happen before was there was no subcommittee, so every commissioner got to view all applications and we all got to, put in the rubric, and I think that's a really good process. It just, helps us understand who's out there, who's looking for stuff, and how many actually do get it. So it might be worth considering just opening up to everybody and not have a separate grants committee. But I think the reason it was started was because not everybody was interested in doing it.
Yeah, I don't mind that it's there's a subcommittee. I don't think everyone has to be involved in everything, and I would trust fellow commissioners. I think it's just communicating more. Each subcommittee we are not communicating as well as we could be.
Okay, I'll pass on the feedback. Thank you.
I'll take that on for the strategic plan as well. I think that it hasn't been as clear in terms of the process for how we're going to do this. Personally, I'm learning as I go, but I can be better about sharing the process as I learn.
I think you make a good point too, that we're all learning as we go, and so that maybe is always when you want to communicate more, because then you don't feel as bad if you're like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing.
I also have some ideas to maybe change the order of our standard agenda. I think the subcommittee reports being at the end, we often run out of time and we don't get through the whole agenda. So we could also make changes like that to make it easier to share.
I think it might also be important for us to, in the grander scheme of things, have a little bit more time devoted as a commission. Other than 2 hours a month is not enough to really make a difference. So it potentially, somewhere in the strategic plan, it would be great to identify how much time is needing to be spent to successfully execute the things that are the responsibility of the commissioners, and as well as there being fairly strict standards about attendance, because if we're only meeting once a month and you miss 3 meetings, you know, it's a lot of time missed. So.
All great points, all good feedback. So before, is there any follow-up questions or comments before we wrap up the Art Strategic Plan presentation? And we all know how to reach out to myself and Janie. So if anything comes up, you can always send us an email, or we're happy to jump on a phone call.
Thanks, Janie.
Yeah, thank you, Janie. So we are going to do a little bit of just any thoughts or any ideas around this. Just send you a couple of bullet points, or do you?
Yeah, is it
What
okay if
works
we
for
put a week time frame on it?
Okay.
So
Perfect.
how about by November, since we have only like a week left in October, by November would be great.
Me too.
Okay, so moving down the agenda, I know last meeting we did have some chat about or interest of possibly moving the November date due to the Thanksgiving holiday. That would need to be a motion made by the commission. So I'm happy, you know, we can obviously keep it on the scheduled date of November 23rd, but I wanted to give the commission a chance to propose a new date if folks felt that they would be a conflict if people are traveling or, oh, I'm sorry, 27th. Sorry.
So is the motion to move it to the 27th?
That it was just an open comment. If you feel you can make a motion to change the date, this would just be the opportunity to do so.
Okay, hold on. It is currently on the 27th, right? And the motion is to change it to...
So the 23rd, the 20th, and the 13th are all available. This room is all available.
The 23rd is Thanksgiving.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's why I have it
that's
written down. Sorry, the
Thanksgiving.
13th or the 20th are the Mondays of the month that this room would be available to us. Or you're welcome to keep it on the scheduled date.
I have conflicts on both the other dates, but if it works for everyone, I just won't attend. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm okay keeping it on the 27th.
That's
yeah, me too.
Okay.
I move to keep them. No.
Okay. The 27th it is. That sounds great. Okay, so the 4th Street sculpture signage has been a project stuck on our budget for quite some time. That was a project started by former commissioners back, I believe 2020. I've done some investigative work. You know, I am meeting with this commissioner later this week, and I think all this information could change. So do you guys mind if we just talk about it on the next meeting? And hopefully we'll have it'll be resolved at that point. You're welcome to ask questions, though, if anyone.
So you're meeting with the ex-commissioner?
Yes.
Or, okay.
Mm-hmm.
The ex-commissioner who was kind of involved in the project.
Correct.
Okay.
They've reached out quite a few times to see if this project could continue with this current commission leading the way. There is currently signage on the sculpture. It's a tricky art piece because it's in the middle of a roundabout. So there's not a crosswalk to go and really see the signage, but there is a 27-page information sheet on our website. So we're just trying to find the best way to accommodate how to make that work so that people...
What are the open issues? Or is that part of the 27 page?
I can show you. No, it's okay. One moment. Let me see. Oh, it's okay. No, we should get everyone up to speed. Yeah, so the signage standards will be very helpful when we can get that.
Yeah,
So that's,
the basics, yeah.
that is what it currently has. I'll show you. So, okay. There was, let me see if I can pull this up here. This is the proposed, the past commission had worked with this artist to create kind of more of an interpretive signage for the site. This is a rather large signage piece. It would have to go in the public right of way, which would be the sidewalk. It's not necessarily the city's standard signage, but as we've come to find out, you know, the Arts Commission, we need to create our standard for artwork signage, which is what the Art Strategic Plan will help us with. So we're just trying to find a compromise there.
I thought
Oh, go ahead.
I thought it was going to go to like an internal graphics person here at the city to kind of streamline.
So that was the talk discussions back in 2020 when we had a planning intern, and then we were going to try and continue that work this year. We do not have staff resources to take on this project and also meet all the requests of the past commission.
So there is some history around this, and I did spoke to the commissioner who gave us this, and I specifically asked her, is this your intent? Like, do you want this to be the signage? And she's like, absolutely not. This was created by the intern, I believe, and they do not expect the photographs or any of that stuff to be on the signage. She just said this was just like information that we wanted to give you, and it doesn't have to look like this.
That's what we're meeting about. There is a little bit of confusion there. This is the
Yeah.
final copy that was sent in to us. So we do have currently on the sculpture, there is signage, artist name, arts reception logo, name of the piece. The compromise is we would like to take that same signage and put it on the sidewalk where folks can actually read it, and not move forward with a larger interpretive sign. But we're going to talk through if we can come up with any other ideas.
I would love for us to keep it simple.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, if it's just an issue that people can't see the sign because you'd have to dodge cars to do it, then yes, maybe it's just a duplicate of it. I don't know how you would put it on the sidewalk, but
It'd be kind of
like a plaque that's
Embedded
embedded
into
in the
yeah.
cement. Okay.
Yeah. That's the idea, yeah. Mm-hmm. I can show you what's currently there. Let's see, so on the Arts Commission website, this is all of the permanent public art. Let's see. Here's the piece. Quite a bit of information here on the project, the artist, the location. Sorry, I'm going to scroll all the way to the bottom here. Here's where you can see what the current signage looks like. And so the idea is we would just recreate the signage and put it maybe over on the sidewalk where folks could actually easily read it.
Could we create a template for that?
For the plaque? Or the
For signage in general?
In general,
Yeah.
you mean?
Yeah, maybe
so there's a
something.
standard of some kind. Yeah.
And even just the verbiage, like, it's odd to me that it's by Sammamish artist / I can't tell if it's a slash
design, yeah.
designer. It seems, you know, not as professional to me.
Yeah, that would be fantastic. And especially before we get more permanent art installed.
And
Yeah.
then, and I think too, we might want to consider the use of the Arts Commission logo, which is a really hard logo, by the way, to scale to such a small size.
Mm.
You know, maybe you modify the logo or you do just a simple text, you know, reference.
Yeah. Good feedback. Yeah, so that's just a quick update on that. Like I said, I think at our next meeting, we'll have a clear path moving forward. Information on that might change this week. And then next on the agenda is the DEIR update. So I have been in touch with Jasmine. She's excited to present at our next meeting. So now that we have our date finalized, she will be virtually attending and presenting the design concept for right out front in the reflection pond. We also met with our staff engineer who's going to be preparing the space to meet the needs of the artwork. So that project's moving forward, and I have not seen any mock-up, so it's going to be exciting and new to all of us. Okay, let's see, down to old business, the double-sided wall update. I can speak to it a little bit, or Greg, if you want to speak to just where we're at.
Well, so we've got concepts, or a concept of it, and we've gotten some feedback, and we've gone through a couple rounds. The latest round of feedback I saw was reducing the height from 8 feet to 6 feet to limit, I guess, the danger of it blowing over, becoming a huge wind sail. So I can update that information and share that with the team. From there, I think I need to meet with you and someone here to understand what the last steps are.
Yeah. So our team is on board for helping build it. We were having a little bit of a challenge finding somewhere that we could store an 8-foot wall, or if we over time get multiple pieces of it, or so storage was one logistical factor for us. But as far as building it, you guys, thanks for all the feedback and design and working with Greg, because it's come such a long way. I think we have a much clearer vision of what the commission is hoping for. So our team's happy to build it, and then it'll be ready to use for whatever programming you choose next year. So Greg and I will meet with some folks, and we'll get it all put together.
I can meet tomorrow, Wednesday are too busy, but I can meet Thursday or Friday. That's helpful.
I bet Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good. Okay. On to the next. Ashley, do you want to speak to your botanical idea and where you're at with that?
Sure. So I reached out to the Botanical Alchemist ladies, and it is more money than I thought it was going to be. So it's basically going to be under $5,000, but I think I only got like $2,000 approved. I am not sure that I think that's a good use of money, since it's a very, very temporary short thing. We have to pay for their travel and all sorts of things that I was unaware that Normandy Park did. So I guess I just wanted to see what you guys thought about it. And if we don't want to spend the money, then I just need to remove it. If we do, I'm happy to go forward with it, but it just seems kind of expensive. So I would like y'all's feedback, please.
I did have one idea of possibly doing this programming during our Earth Day event next year. That way more people could participate, and that would be held in April in a park, and hopefully the commissioners could join.
Yeah, I have no problem. I can see if they're available, but again, I think we just need to think about, do we want to spend that much money on it? But if we do, then I totally don't mind, again, running with it.
Well, I think we're at a budget place where if we don't spend it, we're going to lose it anyway. Correct? So I don't know. Maybe we splurge.
But if you can't spend it till April, I mean, unless you reserve it, I guess you pay in advance. But
we can't pay in advance, and
so
we can't reserve it, so
it.
we're going to lose it. So
I wish we would be less worried about. I'm not calling you out. So yeah, we'll lose it. You know, it's if we choose things based on losing money, I feel like we lose sight of like what we're trying to do. And I love the idea of like tying it to an event, and maybe part of the need is to think about like, you know, is it valuable just to have something that's unusual, which this one seemed unusual, and it sounded like it would have people, I can't remember, Ashley, that people are actually creating art. Is that correct? They're doing it?
Yeah. So she like has them, basically what they would do is they come, and the first part is you walk around the park and find whatever you can find on the ground, and then you make art with what you find on the ground. So like sticks and leaves and flowers. And then the second part is using like basically flowers that florists are going to throw away and rocks and sticks to make like a large piece of art. And I can't really see, but I think that might be the Normandy Park one.
Do they do any sort of documentation, like, too, like that they would take photos of everything and that we could use, or like, what do you get for
Yeah,
that?
I'm sure they do. This is on their Instagram, right? Or is this their website?
This is just their Facebook page.
Okay, yeah.
Do you have a
So
breakdown?
I'm sure. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Ashley. Do you have a breakdown of like, of the 5,000, is most of it towards the art?
Hang on. I think I do. Let me double check. I'm going to have to look. I don't have it in front of me. I think that most of it is for the art, but she sent me an email. Let me check. I think maybe like 2,000 is travel and supplies or something. Let me see if I can find the email. If I can't, I can forward it to you when I find it.
So is the question, do we want to do this maybe next year?
I like the concept. I love the idea of doing it around Earth Day, and when it's not going to be so rainy and wet and people not showing up. Like that would be my biggest worry. So, I mean, it's a great concept. It's a very community-focused concept. So, there'll be a lot of participation for sure. And if it rains and nobody shows up, it's just not going to work out. So I think the season is wrong.
I think, Anne, like, are we, I don't want to dismiss your concern about the budget, so.
But I mean, we lose money every year because we don't spend it. We don't do a good job of spending the money or planning for the spend. So the whole point of this exercise was to try to find a way to not lose money again year over year, because we lose quite a bit.
For me, I think it's hard not to lose money when you're in a limbo state waiting for a plan and your hands are tied a little bit. I would hope that the plan would take into account that and would make recommendations on what is realistic and actually, I know there's been feedback from various people about, well, things cost more than you'd think. We should be giving more money than we are.
I do think we do have some opportunity to do better, though. And Megan and I are talking about some things that we can start in January to really not end up in this situation again.
Yeah.
Because I think it is unfortunate. Okay. I don't think, we're serving the community as well as we could.
So, sorry, I don't want to interrupt. It's hard virtually. I have the email up, and basically the workshop is $2,500. And then for the Normandy Park workshop, they paid $1,800 for the travel. And that was for like 2 nights. And she thought it might be like $700. I don't know. So it looks like the workshop, I could be overestimating, but I'm just going to guess like it's going to be, $4,500.
Where are they traveling from?
Spokane.
Yeah.
And
I'm fine with it birthday, if that's what we want to do. I'm also fine trying to get it to go forward now, but.
I love the concept, so as long as people show up, I'm fine with it.
So the workshop is an hour and a half to 2 hours in length. So that's important for folks to know. So it doesn't look like it has a max number of people that can attend or it needs a minimum. So those are good things to know. The workshop's, $2,500 for an hour and a half to 2 hours. And they also bring flowers with them. And then the rest of it would be travel, gas, food, Airbnb.
I'll make a motion that we move it to next year to coincide with Earth Day.
Emily, can we do that now or do we have to wait for the next year, budget wise?
No, you can do it now. I'm hoping we're putting our work plan together in December. So yeah, that motion works. Or you could say till next year if you don't want to put a specific date on it. Next year is also the city's 25th birthday. So we're going to have a lot of Silver Jubilee events opportunities coming up.
Okay. I think maybe leave the date open just so I can confirm with them. I love the idea of it being like the Earth Day event. But maybe let's just leave it open so that I can talk to them and see if they're available.
Okay, I'll redo the motion. I make a motion that we move the flower thing. I can't remember what it's called. Sorry. The botanical alchemist to next year. And date TBD.
I second. All in favor? Say aye.
Yeah.
Aye.
Aye.
Oh, and I was just going to add, so the Outreach and Engagement Committee has been talking about how we end up not spending the money and what we can do about it and how we should plan in like October for next year's events and so on. So there are a lot of documents on Teams. Please go take a look at them. There's also a calendar that we've put out that Jen has created. We would love your feedback, and next meeting, hopefully we should be able to present something just on how to get your ideas, what kind of research you need to do to even get it here. So we're not wasting a lot of time just thinking about it and not having any solid answers. So I would highly encourage everybody to look at them and come back with suggestions or put them in comments.
Okay, great. Thank you, Ashley. Next one, Sudeshna, if you want to speak to the partnership and the December event with the library system.
Absolutely. So we were hoping to have this literary event this year, and I met with the librarian in, I think, June, but they did not have a teen librarian at that time, so they couldn't do anything. They finally hired someone, but I met her in September, and there's not enough time for them to figure out how to spend $3,000 by the end of the year. So what we're doing this year is there's a writer's workshop at the library on Saturday, December 2nd. And her name is Kelly McWilliams, and she has a book that some of the high schools out here are reading, so they're expecting a really good turnout. She charges $300, which is really, I would have loved to spend more money, but I guess this year we're just going to end up spending $300, and then next year we get to figure out what other programming we can do. They've sent us a contract for us to sign. Emily, I think you have it. So we will be just signing it and sending it back to them, and we will talk about what we want to focus on next year. So that's the update.
Okay, great. That is it for old business. Next is just committee reports. So I do have I know last meeting we missed, I think, Jen, you wanted to speak to the promotions committee. Was that right? It's okay if not. No? Okay, no problem. So subcommittee reports, if anyone wants to speak to their section.
Yeah, I mean, the outreach committee has been working super hard on a lot of things. One of them was how to streamline communications between the commission and the communication department at the city. And so, Emily, we worked with you to figure out the JOT form, and that's something that Megan and I were wondering if we could update to add more dates to it, just to see if that's convenient. If not, it's not like a big priority for us at this point. But we've put a lot of information again in Teams. So we have the calendar out there. We have a document that kind of outlines all the research and all the criteria that you need to have to get a project up here for us to discuss. And then the third thing was the social media posting. So there's a lot of work that's gone into it. I'm hoping to present some slides for the second document that I mentioned about how to, what is the criteria for you to get a program up here. And we would love to present that next time and just get your feedback on if it works or not. So making a lot of progress, but there's still a long way to go, I feel. Do you have anything to add, Jen?
I still haven't had a chance to follow up on the Facebook posting and how we do that, and so that's a little smoother than it was. So that needs to be done, and then the schedule that I shared out with folks, it's in a Word doc. It's very rough, but the concept is essentially that we would want to work at least a quarter ahead and have a rhythm for how we use our meetings. So, for example, and this is just an example, you could say the first meeting of the quarter is when you review the budget. And then the second meeting of the quarter, we don't have to talk about the budget. We can use that for something else. But you figure out what the rhythm is, and then you also identify what are the recurring activities and events. And hopefully having some sort of calendar like this for the year would help everyone forecast and see what's coming ahead and be able to plan a little further, and maybe even coordinate with maybe Parks and Recs has a similar calendar, and maybe there's Earth Day stuff coming up. Let's combine our superpowers. So what I have in the Word doc is just a very rough, like, how could you do that? And so when you're looking at it, if you could take a look and just go, no, I wouldn't do the budget the first meeting of the quarter. I would do it the second meeting of the quarter. I think that's the kind of input that we need to have. Or what's missing, or what events that are not accounted for. How many exhibits do you think that you want to propose we do every year? Mm-hmm. And when do those fall? Is there a rhythm for that? Mm-hmm. I don't know exactly how many newsletters are going out, so that we are kind of know when to have content for that. Mm-hmm. So that's all on that.
I think something, and I haven't looked at it, so apologies for that, but something we may want to be thinking about is how do we forecast? What is our projected spend through the year? I mean, we have a number. We don't have a timeline, and we don't have a projection of when that money is going to be spent. So we end up at the end of the year like going, here we are again. So, I mean, maybe something like that would be more productive in our meetings than just a line-by-line budget. It's a lagging
That's a great
indicator.
idea.
Yeah.
Okay, any other subcommittees that'd like to speak?
I'll go for the
right.
strategic plan now that we have the dates. I'm excited. I feel like I've been waiting for a while here on this one, but we're finally here. I think what I'll do, and are these the correct names? They don't seem up to date to me, but it could be my memory, but I certainly don't see Rachel or Greg anywhere here. And I thought Jen was on the strategic plan. So I don't know if these
Yeah,
are.
let's get it updated.
Okay.
I agree with you.
Okay. But I think what I'll do is, at least for the subcommittee, is send out some just calendar placeholders for these times when we're going to need really critical attention to the information that's coming in. So we just kind of know, we'll see it on our calendars and we know it's coming. And then as we get closer, we can start to put some meetings on the schedule and sit down and talk about these proposals that we're getting in, align them to the rubric, and be prepared for the January commission with our recommendations as a subcommittee of the vendors that we want to move forward with.
These might look a little more current, but can always be adjusted.
Yeah. Jen, weren't you on the subcommittee? Weren't you in our meeting?
Yeah, I'm on. My name's up there.
Okay, you are. Oh.
Oh, this is old.
This is old. Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Got it.
apologies.
So we decided to get rid of a lot of subcommittees.
Gotcha.
But I don't think. But Greg's not.
Yeah, Greg and Rachel.
And yeah,
Oh, we can
Rachel,
make.
you're
I
not.
want to be honest, is when we have to wait for the strategic council commission for the report to be finalized.
Which one?
Which one is this?
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if, there's some, you could maybe do some groundwork on that. Like it doesn't,
I've been putting together a document. I've been working on a document that explores how other groups or regions do outdoor sculpture parks. Like Western Washington University has a big sculpture park throughout its campus. There's a few in the area. Obviously, there's the Olympic Sculpture Park. So I've been collecting information on that and trying to figure out who are the people to talk to at these different groups to understand how do they get it going and what's the reality of having big permanent pieces of sculpture outdoors in the Northwest. But I don't have that finalized. I could post it and continue.
I worked on this previously
Ah,
because I wanted to do a sculpture park as well, and I talked with Auburn, so I have information. So why don't you and I get together and I can share what I have, and we can just try to move forward. I know that what I basically have been told by staff, to my understanding, is I have to wait for the strategic plan.
yeah, that's what I'm gathering.
But I do have information from other cities
Okay, well, let's
who have sculpture parks.
yeah. Well, you could add my name to that list and,
Yeah, we can do that.
all right, I'll follow up with you, Ashley.
Perfect, thank you.
So, is the City Hall exhibit a subcommittee, or what is that? Because it's a big project.
So these were the subcommittees put in place at the beginning of this year by the commission.
Right.
So, and they're not set in stone. We can create new subcommittees. You can jump off of one and join on a different one if you have interest. But I would say the City Hall, let's see, is it on? I don't know which one it would fall under.
It's under project interests. It's the second bullet.
Okay. We can make it a committee if you'd like to ask for more help too.
Sure.
That's no problem. Yeah.
And we can have more than 2 people on a project interest. I think the reason we decided not to have all those subcommittees was everybody was on every committee and it didn't really make sense because a lot of, like, you had a performance art committee, but you didn't have a visual arts committee. And so, we just decided to move that out of the subcommittees. But definitely we can have more than one person for any of the interests.
Yeah. And the thought of the committees was that these groups of people would be meeting outside of these monthly meetings. And since we can't have a quorum, that's why there's only the 4 seats on them. Oh. So this would be for our strategic plan, say, Anne, Sudeshna, Ashley, and Jen wanted to get together over coffee and work on that. that's why we had to put names to it, because we cannot have the whole commission meet outside of an open public meeting. But that's not to be said that the City Hall exhibits, if the commission feels you could make it a subcommittee and have some folks sit on it with you.
I think personally that when you get the little small subcommittees like that, there's less it's just more difficult. I think for me, I feel like the subcommittees need to be like, it could maybe be part of like a reoccurring programs. So other things that are also reoccurring lumped together.
Yeah, that's a great idea because it's not necessarily just an interest. It's something that I've done. So it's not, I'm just not just interested in it. It's an action. Does that make sense? I don't really, it doesn't matter the verbiage to me, as long as there's an action associated with that duty.
But do you want a subcommittee for it? Like, do you want other people? Do you want to meet with other people and all work together?
Well, I do need help with some things, but we haven't had to have a subcommittee as a result of the help. But I have definitely counted on Jen and Sudeshna for different things to make everything go smoothly.
Okay.
You want to have a subcommittee that's a broader recurring projects subcommittee, or do you want to just kind of keep it as is for now, still working with various folks?
We'll just keep it as it is now, and maybe with a strategic plan, it will be more easily defined of what needs to go and be a part of it. Okay. All right.
Okay, well, that wraps up our agenda for the evening. So if there's any last questions or comments, now would be the time. Or someone can make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I have a question, but I'm gonna just email you, Emily. So if you could just respond. It's about the Before I Die wall stuff, but I don't need to ask it now. I make a motion that we adjourn.
I second that motion. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, great. 7:53, meeting adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
So for the last time we met, we talked about doing a temporary sculpture installation.
Any other questions I cannot answer?
So one comment I wanted to make is I didn't really see it in the overall plan, but I hope that our outreach plan will